Say what? Oh, this is Brian. Call me the New Orleans Queen who sure knows how to schmooze at Gardner, coming to you from Ramble on Towers Galley Studio in scenic Hespeler, Ontario, what USA Today called Crazy Cold, Hespeler, Ontario, and you are listening to Ramble on Radio, episode 79. Ramble on Radio is the only dedicated Led Zeppelin podcast on this or any other known internets. Be sure to go to rambleonradio.com for all your news, reviews, and any links I might mention during the show. I say that. I never actually put up the links. My intention is every episode to kind of do a little short piece on it as well. And I never end up doing it, including any links. But go anyway, look, see what you see. Be sure to go to rambleonradio.com for... Oh, yeah, no, I said that already. You can subscribe to Ramble on Radio through iTunes. If you go to iTunes, don't forget, leave a review. If you're over there buying, Blue Christmas this week, drop by, leave a review. While you're there, go to the podcast side, look us up, leave a quick review. Even if you don't download it because it helps. The more reviews there are, the more that the iTunes, computer scanner thingy will recognize us and put this blog onto, or put this podcast onto their what's hot kind of lists. You can check it out at Ramble on Radio on YouTube. You can listen on Spreaker and download away there too, and it's Spreaker. And if you're at Spreaker, be sure to follow Ramble on Radio at Spreaker. Again, this got to do with iHeartRadio. If you get 100 followers at Spreaker, you kind of nose yourself over to iHeartRadio. iHeartRadio is run by Sirius Satellite, and literally thousands and thousands of people listen. It puts the podcast in front. So if everybody who listens to this, because I know what my numbers are, if everybody who listens to this went to Spreaker, signed up to Spreaker, and just did nothing else, just followed me, that would put me in good stead to get over there in iHeartRadio and make it. And hey, you could listen to it on you could stream it on iHeartRadio all day long if you wanted. Anyway, and that's the selfish side of the podcast. Follow Ramble on Radio on Facebook, Google Plus, and at Ramble on Blog on Twitter. I do try to respond to people on Facebook and Twitter. I just don't wind up over at Google Plus, and I don't know why. And there was a comment on the Facebook. I didn't get a chance to respond to Lloyd over on the Facebook page, so I'll mention this now. I'm bringing it up. Should have had this prepared, shouldn't I? He did ask about the reissues, and he also mentioned his favorite band, which I mentioned last week, his favorite cover band or Zeppelin tribute band, which I mentioned last week. Let me get his post up here, just real quick. When's the next batch of reissues to be released? Nobody knows for sure. The rumor is end of February will be Physical Graffiti. And Physical Graffiti is a standalone reissue. That is the 40th anniversary of the original release of Physical Graffiti. That's why that will come. So it'll be February 27th or something like that. And then by the end of next year, according to what Paige has said in the last little while, by the end of next year it'll be done. So I'm guessing February, and then probably a fall release of the last three. Much like this year, there was a fall release of House of the Holy and 4. Probably Presence, In Through the Outdoor, and Coda as a fall release. And he also asked, will Song Remains the Same be on the reissue list, and will it have live extra bonus material? And the answer is it appears not. I think the answer is actually no. But I'm jogging my memory to try and remember if I've actually heard it specifically said that no, Song Remains the Same is not on the list. I think it's not, and I think that's been said, but I don't know. I can't promise you that. So, but my understanding is no, Song Remains the Same, and therefore it will not have live bonus. Now, maybe a couple of years from now they do Song Remains the Same, but they did Song Remains the Same a few years back, and you can get the complete concert now, right? The box set with everybody say hi to Mia, by the way. I'm being hounded here. This is Mia. I'm in her seat. The whole room is hers. The couch over there, 4 seats at this little table here, all hers. And she gets very annoyed if anybody sits in any of her seats. So that's what's going on here. And Lloyd, so it's Lloyd Hedges put that. So Lloyd, yeah, I think February and then the fall for the last of it. And Song Remains the Same, no. Will it have extra bonus material? No. But there was a re-release 5 years ago of the Song Remains the Same. And it did come, they did do they included more, the rest of the concerts, or the rest of the set list from those concerts, I guess would be the way to put it. So The Ocean, the Black Dog is on the album now, and you can buy that album. Are you okay there? All right. Best Zeppelin cover band. As a kid growing up in New Orleans, we would go watch Zebra. They played Zeppelin excellently. So I don't know if they still exist out there. I know when I was a kid growing up here in Toronto, we went to see The White a number of times, and Michael White, who was the lead singer there and whose band it was, still does his stuff. I don't know if he still calls it the White, but so yeah, those bands are still out there, quite a few cases, and so yeah, Zebra. Watch for Zebra, or I don't know if they're still around. All right, this week I think we're going to run a little short this week, and that's fine. And ultimately, it's going to have to be. I'll just do a full song in the intro and outro. Yeah, I don't have a license for that. But so this week we're going to talk Dave Lewis. Not much has happened this week. There's been an interview, I think. I didn't really read it. Beyond that, there's really been no news. No, it's been quiet. Robert's doing the England side of things, and I think he's even finished with that. Jimmy had a book signing this week at in London, or a book stamping. But that's, and if you want to know about that, by the way, Dave Lewis was there. Go see Dave Lewis, tblweb.com. Is that right? tightbutloose.co.uk. tightbutloose.co.uk. And Dave Lewis, as he does with so many of these things, he covers it really, really, really well. And so we come to Tight But Loose, Dave Lewis's magazine, his physical magazine, issue number 38. The Jimmy Page interview. This chair is annoying me. It's rocking. Note, this is the first time Dave Lewis has been doing this magazine since the 70s. He actually has met the guys in the band. Even at the time, he met John Bonham, for instance. He knew them a little tiny bit. They knew of his work. He obviously knew their work. But he had met them a few times, especially around the 1980 tour, where he stayed in the same hotel as them on a few shows. So at the bar afterwards, he would sit and have a drink with John Paul Jones and that sort of thing. And it sounds like when he meets up with John Paul Jones, there's a bit of a hug and almost old friends talking. Maybe not so much, but maybe not so much that, but that kind of an attitude almost comes out. Hey, good to see you. Been a long time, sort of thing. So Dave is known to the band. This is, however, his first interview with Jimmy Page. He went to Sunset Sound Studios where Page was doing a series of interviews, and he got an hour with them. And I'd love to know what he asked that didn't make the cut, because there's about a page of, there's maybe about 15 or 20 minutes of chitty chat there. I wouldn't think it's the whole thing, but you never do know. You never do know. And he obviously asks well-informed questions, and he gets good answers. Jimmy's talking to somebody who knows the stuff, knows the material, likes the material, and isn't going to dick him around with stupid questions. So he answers, he gets good responses out of him. He starts off with asking him about La La, but the reissues. La La was a real surprise. Why was it unfinished? And he just talks about it, how it went. But the title does come from John Paul Jones, who put in a guide vocal called La La La, but lyrics never got written. Is what it boils down to, I think. And I don't want to sit here and read the interview to you, because that would really be boring. Best question, to be honest with you, comes over here on page 19. I know one of your pastimes is record shopping. What inspired you to get back to collecting LPs again? Jimmy says, like you. Dave says, indeed, probably when my children grew up. Because what doesn't mix is children and vinyl. All of us fathers know this. Yeah, it's hard to, you don't get a lot of Jimmy Page talking about his children. I pointed out on his autobiography, there's no pictures of his kids, there's no pictures of his wives, there's no pictures of his parents. Other than one picture that's fairly well known of Charlotte Martin and him arriving at Nebworth. So he doesn't talk about that sort of stuff. So anyway, children and vinyl don't mix, so I kept having to shift it up a level. Then it got put away. Then there was separation, divorce, whatever. So once I got back into my own space, I thought, right, I'm going to get my records out and I'm going to listen to them again. So on and so forth. But that's a kind of answer that, most guys, the guy writing for the Toronto Sun or the New York Herald or the New Orleans Picayune, is that what it's called? Love that name. That's the kind of answer they don't get, So a nice chat about how his kids affected his vinyl collection. And it's a good interview, and Dave gets good answers out of him, which is what a good interview is supposed to do, right? It's not supposed to be, what can I say? It's what can I get you to say? So he hit a nice nerve on that particular question, I think. And but beyond that, look, this is a 50,000 word magazine. It's a small book, and the last time he did this, the lettering was so small. I heard complaints about the lettering being so small. And you have to understand when you're cramming in extra words, pages cost money, words don't, right? So if you can drop the font a space or two and get more words per, that's what. But I don't think this one is as bad. Although I could use my glasses to read it. It's not awful. It's not unreadable without my glasses. Which I think the other one was. Actually, I think the other one was the reason I went and got progressive lenses. I think that was why. But it's small enough. So anyway, so there's a history of Led Zeppelin, but beyond the Page interview. This goes into so much detail on some stuff. There's a history of Led Zeppelin reissues over here on page 12. Led Zeppelin reissues now and then, and it talks about all the different reissues from the original CDs that were put out by Atlantic, and they were just kind of done by a guy who worked at Atlantic, did most of their thing. And some of those are quite good, actually. Some of those are quite popular. I have the President's one. It just rocks. It's really loud and jumps out at you. And then there is the musical Odyssey, the long space Odyssey. Sorry, I got that a little wrong. The audio audacity, it's called the audio audacity, and it talks about the different Led Zeppelins on CDs, the history of CDs and the Led Zeppelin on CDs. And it goes a bit of a thing, why is mastering and what is it important? You see here, if you're on iTunes, and this one shows you different masterings of Whole Lotta Love, and it shows you how the sound is getting bigger. It's getting louder, in other words. And what that causes, the audio geeks call it brick walling. It starts to get to a point where you start losing sound because you're hitting a sound wall with the volume. And the more, so basically when there's a sound wall, if you make it loud, if you look at the thing on iTunes, you can see it's a sound wave. As you make it louder, the wave gets bigger. And the lowers get bigger, the low volumes get bigger, and the high. But if there's a wall there, and there's a technical kind of wall there where the sound starts cutting out, starts distorting or cutting out, what it means is the lows and the louds and the softs get a lot closer. So a lot of the dynamics start disappearing. But also you start getting distortion at the top end. Whereas if it's pulled back, it's you get that full dynamic range and you get full quality sound at all levels. Does it make sense? Bottom line is you can turn it up louder on your stereo without it starting to distort. And you get more dynamic range. This is all that boils down to. So when he shows how it gets louder over time, and then this one pulls back almost to what it was in 1988, 1986. Okay, I really need my glasses to read this, apparently. And it is there's a lot of it is trendy. There's a trends in sounds in audio engineering, and getting this louder as you get into CD or as you get into the digital processes, getting it louder. So there is kind of less dynamics. So you're driving in your car, and you can hear the lows. You don't have to turn it up and then get blasted when the highs come on. Or you're walking on a noisy street with your headphones on. So so it's showing anyway how this set of remasters, the sound came down a bit. You're getting much better quality sound. You're getting much better dynamics. Truthfully, I've heard very few people complain about the sound of these guys. Mothership came out, there was a lot of complaining about the sound, a lot of complaining about the 1992, 1990 George Marino remasters at the time. But very few on this one, very few, which is good. Okay, so then over here, I'm sorry, I apologize, I showed this, the Led Zeppelin Reissues Then and Now, talks about Led Zeppelin 1, 2, 3, when they were released, and the difference now, what you're getting in bonus material, and how it sounds compared to. That was, so I called that a phenomenal piece, by the way, by Richard Grubb on what is remastering. All right, backwards to page 5. We got the good review of Robert Plant, Lullaby and the Ceaseless Roar. I'm pretty much on record for this one, not liking this. My views have not softened on it. Dave Lewis comes from the other end of the rainbow. He likes it. He likes he's always liked what Plant does. I don't think there's anything Led Zeppelin related where he goes, I don't like that. And he likes it all. He finds a way to like it all. And God bless him. He went to, for instance, he went to the Anna Nicole Smith opera. Reported back he's never been to an opera before. I had no idea if he would like it or not, and thought it was all right, and really enjoyed John Paul Jones's bit, and was glad he went. And he's gone and seen John Paul Jones, who's super silent, and the noise bands he's in. And by the way, that's John Paul Jones's word. I'm not being snippy, but we've been through this many a times before. I think minibus pimps and super silent are essentially audio noise makers. And trying to create an emotional response through their noise is in essence what they do, and it's very simplified. I understand that, but he's gone to it. Don't think he's liked it so much, but he's appreciated it for what it is. That's what Dave Lewis does. It's one of he's really not very cynical. And you have to like that as a Zeppelin fan. So if you want to read good, if you want to hear somebody who likes, if you're still trying to figure out to buy it, and you've listened to me and went, oh no, and for one, it's been streamed so many times, you should have heard it by now and made your own mind up, I would say. But go hear Dave Lewis's opinion of it. He may change your mind. He's very strong on it, and he does this very interesting. It's called the Ceaseless playlist. I got this on page 6. I'm going to read through this for you. Am I? Yeah. Okay. Somebody, if I get the cat to hold this way, Mia. I get the cat to hold this way out here. So this would be playlist inspired by Stephen Humphries I put together that incorporates the tracks from Lullaby and the Ceaseless Roar with similar styled songs from Robert Plant's back catalog. So it's a playlist. So the idea is, for instance, song 1 is Little Maggie, and Central, if you're going into Robert Plant's back catalog, Central 209 from Band of Joy, or Somebody Knocking from Mighty Rearranger might be similar songs. And I have not gone through this bit by bit sort of thing. I have not done it at all. I have not, listened to Little Maggie, then listened to Central 209 and Somebody Knocking. and seeing if I make that connection. Might be a worthwhile experiment, but give me a chance to, give me an excuse to open up my album anyway. Rainbow, Another Tribe from Mighty Rearranger, or Little Hands from 66 to Timbuktu. Pocket Full of Golden would be similar to Down by the Sea on Fate of Nations. Embrace Another Fall would be similar to Life Begins Again, and from 66 to Timbuktu. Slow Dancers from Pictures 11. Anniversary from Manic Nirvana. Turn It Up might be akin to Tin Pan Valley, and I definitely agree with that. I think I made that same connection when I first heard it from Mighty Rearranger. A Stolen Kiss from Lullaby and the Ceaseless Roar, reminiscent of Down by the Seaside, with Tori Amos on the Kinconium tribute album. I have that album. I have to listen to that. Somebody There is akin to Dancing in Heaven from Mighty Rearranger, or House of Cards from Band of Joy. Poor Howard is akin to Red Dress from Dreamland, or Angel Dance from Band of Joy. House of Love is akin to The Only Sound That Matters from Band of Joy. Up on the Hollow Hill is from The Enchanter from Mighty Rearranger. And Arbiden, Maggie's Baby, is akin to Shine It All Around, Girls Mix from Mighty Rearranger. Notice how often Band of Joy and Mighty Rearranger, by the way, come up in comparing these two. And Mighty Rearranger is fair because the band's the same band, more or less. Band of Joy's his last album, and that's akin to The Way You Plant Singing, probably. And Dreamland comes up a few times, too. Very few, Manic Nirvana, Pictures 11, Fate of Nations. You start to, the Iconium, and, of all that, most of that material is from recent stuff, the last 5 albums. Which may be why I'm not nuts on the album. But anyway, that gives you an idea. Like, if you liked, I shouldn't say that, because I like Mighty Rearranger. But it is not worn well on me. Last time I listened to it, I thought, oh, wow, that's dated. However, somebody else made a comment somewhere that I read recently that they really like, Mighty Rearranger really had grown on them. It likes it more now than then. So, it's as, this is what it is. You get what you give, as the song goes. But that may give you an idea of, or maybe a way to sit back and listen to the Ad album and not, and find your enjoyment out of it. I don't know. And I'll give that a try. Maybe that'll be a podcast at some point. I'll give that a go. But only if it's positive. I'll not do the let's stick the knife in kind of. I'll not do that episode, okay? He also talks about the John Bonham Memorial Fund concert featuring Deborah Bonham. I have mentioned this before the last couple of times. Deborah Bonham's new CD/LP called Spirit is excellent. Excellent. Worth buying. And if you buy it, if you go to the website and buy it, leave a comment saying, thank you to Brian Gardner, thank you to Ramble on Radio, or whatever, buying this because I heard about it on Ramble on Radio. Do that, because I have requested an interview, and guess what? No response. Nothing. Radio silence from Deborah Bonham. And not from Deborah herself, but Deborah's people. So if you, because the one thing I won't do, if you're a person who's responsible for Deborah Bonham's career, then it's your job to take requests like this. But I wouldn't try to contact Deborah Bonham personally and say, Deborah, I want an interview, blah, 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 and start bugging her. I don't think that's fair. She's a singer. She's trying to do her bit. She hires people to handle this stuff. And they don't answer my emails. So there you go. But buy the CD anyway. It's excellent. Don't take. But if you do, let them know you heard about it here. Let them know that. And if a couple of people do that, maybe it takes just 2, 3, and they go, because people in the media and stuff, they extrapolate out. They assume if one person says it, there's 100 other people. So if 2 people do it, they're going, wow, we've sold some CDs because of this guy. And wow, maybe we can sell another 2 if we go on the interview, and that's how it gets done. So but anyway, Deborah Bonham played it. They reviewed it. David was there, reviewed it, and had a good time. Now, there is search John Bonham Memorial Fund. It is a memorial to try and build a statue in the town square of Redditch, where John Bonham is from. Sam and Clem Dalloway were on this show ages ago, and I do believe they're taking funds now. Maybe I can look this up real quick. What do you think? I'm just hoping it's John Bonham Memorial Fund.com. How's that? John Bonham Memorial Fund.com. And there's fundraising events. It doesn't say the About Home John Bonham fundraising events. Let's see. There was one in October. Contact. Ooh, there we go. What I'm not seeing is a place where you can actually donate. And that's a pity. Make a donation right here. Okay, so you can make a donation. GoldenGiving.com, charity John Bonham Memorial Fund. If you go to johnbonhammemorialfund.com, and this would be a good place for me to put a link on the website, wouldn't it? I'm not so sure it looks like it's going great, to be honest with you. Now, I had them on the show and talked to them, and then I don't know, they seemed, I kind of stopped talking about them, writing about them, because they seemed disorganized to me. And I didn't want to get tied up in something that was going to turn bad. And that was my impression, and I'm not disabused of the notion that they're disorganized, but I also think this is going to happen. I think they're making it happen. There are a couple of musicians, and so musicians could be disorganized people, and I think they hit red tape. They had a lot of, because it's a charitable thing, there's a lot of, right, you're collecting donations from people based on the idea that, excuse me a second while I stand, major cramp in my foot there, that's all. I'm sitting on like a stool. Because it's a charity, they're raising money for a charitable thing. There's all sorts of paperwork that goes on in that, and I think that surprised them and caught them off guard. But that's just kind of my sort of impression of them. They had some copies of the Mick Bonham book, and this was one of the, that's one of the things I kind of said to them. I want one of those books. Let me know the minute they're in, and I'll send you the money for a book, sort of thing. And it never happened. And then I kind of got messaged. I kind of at one point sent them a message, and they said, oh, we had a bunch and they sold. Yeah, give me your address again and we'll make sure we get you one. And it never happened. And it's just, so I'm touch leery. But anyway, it's John Bonham Memorial Fund. They're trying to raise a statue in Redditch. And Deborah Bonham, whose new album is excellent, was... just can't go past it. Was there and did a benefit for them. Hopefully they raised a good chunk of change at that. And if she thinks it's a worthwhile thing, then and I think Robert Plant's mentioned it in an interview. And wouldn't it be nice if Robert Plant just ponied up the 3,000 pounds or whatever and got the statue built? But how many albums are they selling? Just take a little tiny portion of one of those records. My apologies. And give it to the guys to get their statue up. But anyway, they're raising it. If you want to help, that's where to go to make a donation. And as it stands, I'm not going to, at some point I'm probably going to make a donation. It's always the next thing on my list. And even if you think it's not really going to, even if you think it's what's $20 or $30, if you're inclined to do that, right? I don't think they're going to run off with the money. Let's put it that way. I just think it's... so yeah, make a donation if you want. Don't let me scare you off. But just also be warned that maybe, just maybe, yeah, Anyway, that's covered in the magazine. And then the last parts, let me verify our time. See, I thought this was going to be a real short one, and we're at 30 minutes. It shocks me. I want to blow through time. Oh, I could just talk away like this. I'm usually very quiet, you know. The Triumphant Return Home, TBL Retrospective. He does 2 retrospectives in this one. 45 years, the Back to the Bars tour in 1969. 1969, well, they were still doing the bars, really, but they did through England and Europe. They did a number of TV broadcasts, a couple of BBC broadcasts or BBC recordings. They did a Danish TV broadcast. They did a Swedish one, etc., etc. And all through March, April 1969, they were doing shows in London, in England, and in the rest of Europe, Northern Europe, Scandinavia, that sort of thing. And so they cover that in detail, complete with reviews and whatnot. And then they talk about the Prelude to Earl's Court 1975 show, 1975 Tour of America. This will be the second half of the tour. Well, it's just talking about the tour. And basically it's the lead up. So next one will be Earl's Court, I'm sure. And yeah, that was May 1975. So the next, if not the next, probably the one after will be a 40-year, 70, 80, 90, 40-year retrospective on Earl's Court, I'm sure will happen. In either the next TBL or the one after. He does 3 a year, so I would think the next one is November, December, January, February, March, May, June. So yeah, the March one, that makes sense. It'll be out for 40th anniversary of. And I know Dave talked to me. I had said he did a great book on Nebworth, and he did another one on the 80 tour, European tour. And between those two, he covers the end of the 77 tour. He talks about the final show, Robert Plant's son dying, right through to Nebworth. And then the 80 tour, he talks about the aftermath of Nebworth. And both books kind of cover that ground a little bit, and right through to the dissolving of the band. So I thought, and I had mentioned to him that I thought a show on Earl's Court, which he was at, like he attended each of these, the Nebworth show, the 80 tour, Earl's Court, he was also at, covering the Earl's Court shows, and that would take you from the 75 tour, you could cover right through to 77, what went on with the band, the aftermath of the Earl's Court, Robert Plant breaking his leg, etc., etc. And you could probably go back to some shows in 74. And he would have basically 3 books that would cover half of their career in fairly well, in as good a detail as you'll ever see. And my understanding is he's now planning on doing that. When that will come out, I don't know. I actually want to contact Dave in the next week. Probably tomorrow I sit down and I post this online, this podcast, and then I make a bunch of emails happen relating to the podcast. So it's probably my day tomorrow. Which is all right because we have a buffet at work tonight. I'll be big, fat, full guy. And then finally there is interview part 2 with Joe Jammer, a former Zeppelin roadie, and also a guitar player himself. And the last episode had part 1 of that. And there you go. There you go. That's Dave Lewis, Type It Loose. He finishes off in the last page with a bunch of people reading Type It Loose from various locations. Poolside in Portugal, on the road in Santa Eluia, Ibiza, that'd be Spain, right? The luxury yacht in Ibiza. The editor. So this is, is that Dave? Hard to tell. There you go. In Utah, some guy at a monument in Utah, and so on and so forth. People everywhere. So I sent him a picture of this at the Tim Hortons with the Tim Hortons coffee mug. Me reading it at the Tim Hortons with the Tim Hortons coffee mug beside it. let them know it's now been to the most famous place in Canada, or the most Canadian place. I could take it to the hockey rink, and no, that would be it. Oh yeah, and finally, I should point out there is an inner picture. I talked about this a bit last week. He does this. I don't think he does it every episode. He's been doing it lately. He's got these pictures included in the magazine. And this is the best one. I love this one. And this one's getting framed and put up. And I have number 83, by the way. As well as you, I don't know if everybody gets this. Every time I get a personal note from Dave. And I think he does. I think he kind of drops a little note. And you will notice, by the way, if you go into the Tight But Loose issue number, the first page, there is, thanks to all sorts of people, including yours truly. And I have no idea. I discovered it the last edition. I have no idea how long he's been putting that in there, but it was kind of cool. Lying in bed and show, hey, look, show my wife. I can start reading. When Led Zeppelin books comes out, I have to start reading the indexes. That's it. And that is it for Ramble on Radio, episode number 79. We're through 79 whole episodes. Check out rambleonradio.com for notes on this week's podcast. Led Zeppelin news and reviews, and any links I might mention during today's podcast. I will make a real effort to do that this week, because I mentioned a few links, and I'll also be reviewing the Tight But Loose on the podcast itself, or on the blog itself. So, go this week and do your follow-up homework. Follow Ramble on Radio on Facebook, Google+, and at Ramble on Blog on Twitter. You can subscribe to Ramble on Radio through iTunes. Don't forget to leave a review. If you're in iTunes for any reason, pop over to the podcast, Google it. You don't have to download it, but leave a review. It helps their bots notice that people are listening. You can listen on Spreaker. Be sure to follow Ramble on Radio on Spreaker. Spreaker has an app, by the way. You can just listen to it on your phone through Spreaker. For example, but if everybody goes and follows it, we can get this thing on iHeartRadio. It gets on iHeartRadio. Thousands of people start listening, and then then I get rich, money everywhere. Follow them now. No, that wouldn't happen. I don't see money in this somehow. And check it out at Ramble on Radio on YouTube. Thanks for listening to Ramble on Radio, episode 79. Keep it coolin', babies.